It was a big weekend for CSU sports. Football and hockey played a couple of rivalry games, and volleyball sought to continue its Mountain West domination on the road, while the women's swimming and soccer teams competed at home. We've got the highlights, analysis, and more coming up on CTV Sports. Good evening and welcome to CTV Sports on this Monday, October 21st. I'm Keith Albertson.
And I'm Steven Starcer. The football team went up to Laramie, Wyoming on Saturday in hopes of bringing back the bronze boot for the first time since 2008. The Rams were the underdogs in this game, but they sure didn't play like it. They came out of the gates early and jumped on a 14-0 lead against their rival, the Cowboys. CSU added to that lead before halftime, going up 24-7. But history has shown us that the first half leads haven't mattered a whole lot to this Rams team.
I didn't know if we were going to show up and come out of the locker room at halftime, but we kind of did. That was a good deal.
Were you surprised by that?
I was stunned.
Was there anything different?
There's no historical precedence that said we were able to do that, right? So I had them film the whole thing. Okay, this is no kidding. Everything's on film. So whatever they did, they're going to do the exact thing.
And the Rams really came out of the locker room strong. They scored 2 more touchdowns within 8 minutes. They did fall victim to another big touchdown play as we see this 71-yarder from Brett Smith to Roof Ran. But after all that, the Rams were able to go on to score 4 touchdowns in the second half to blow out the Wyoming Cowboys 52-22 and reclaim the bronze boot. Keith, how do you think the Rams were able to go up to Wyoming to take on our rival team against a very dynamic player, Brett Smith, a tough offense, and dominate this game?
I think it was all about balance. Our offense showed up, our defense showed up. We just played great passing the ball, running the ball. It was just a great all-around balanced team. And I got to apologize to this football team because a week ago I was saying that they didn't have much of a chance against Brett Smith and his passing game.
Yeah, the defense came out, made some plays. I thought the interceptions were huge in this game to help shift the momentum back on CSU's side. But give a ton of credit to the offensive and defensive lines. They dominated in the trenches in this football game. Weston Richburg and those 4 seniors on the offensive line talked about they wanted to go out there in their last border war game and really dominate, leave it all on the field. They wanted to bring it back to Fort Collins where everyone was saying it belongs, and they were able to do that, and that was just awesome to see.
And the offensive line really opened up holes for this rushing game. Over 260 yards between all the running backs. Capri Bibbs really stepped up. 201 yards, 3 touchdowns, definitely his career best game, and doing it against the rivals to win that boot, you know how much it meant to the seniors. Just a huge game for him and the entire offense.
Bibbs was able to break free late in the game for the big touchdown run. They had some long runs here and there, but I think the most impressive runs for the Rams in this game were those 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s where, sometimes they got hit in the backfield, but were able to keep those legs pumping and were able to push through, get some tough first downs. Quarterback Garrett Grayson talked about he thought those were some of the most important runs of the game, keeping the defense off the field so they could rest up and sustaining those drives on offense where they could keep it going down the field, score some points. Just a tremendous job.
Exactly, and the fact that they didn't just make it a first half effort like McElwain talked about. They were able to keep the pressure on through the second half, something they haven't been able to do this whole game. And McElwain, a little bit of a superstitious guy, was just talking about filming the locker room at halftime and trying to replicate everything that they did in halftime so they could repeat that for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and sometimes when you're a team who struggles coming out in the second half to kind of match the energy level that you had in the first half, you have to take some desperate measures. We'll see how this plays off for this team, but I think, maybe it's something that'll work. We'll see if the coaching staff knows what they're doing. I hope they know their players well enough to know that this will work, and looking forward to see what this team could do when they go to the island to take on Hawaii.
Yeah, and McElwain was joking a little bit about bringing the boot to Hawaii, setting it on that opponent's sideline to really motivate the players a little bit. And I'm not sure if that's really necessary for this team to do, but I'm not writing off Hawaii as a bad team. They're 0-6 to start the season, but I think this could be a trap game for the Rams.
There's no question about it. We talked about it a little bit before the show. Hawaii hasn't won a game yet this season, but they've played some close ones, played a good Fresno State team to within a touchdown earlier this year. They're a team who likes to throw the football a lot, so definitely still a little bit scary for this Rams team. You know, we had a better showing against Wyoming in the secondary, but most of the season they've struggled in giving up those long plays like we talked about. So hopefully we could see them carry over their good performance against Wyoming and do well against Hawaii. But I know you like to talk about this team maybe having a chance now to carry on this momentum and have a chance to go bowling.
Definitely. They've certainly had a chance just with how easy their schedule is. The Mountain West is not a very strong conference, but the way that they showed up against Wyoming, I didn't really expect us to win this game, but the only team tougher on our schedule than Wyoming from here on out is Boise State. If we can play like we did against Wyoming, we've certainly got a great chance against Boise State at Hughes Stadium in a couple weeks. And yeah, I think this team can certainly go out and win 7 games and go bowling.
For me, I still think it's a little too early for that, just for the fact that they haven't consistently put forth 4 quarters of football through all their games this season. We saw them do that this past Saturday against Wyoming, but I want to see them do that against a few more opponents before I really jump on that bandwagon and saying that this team could roll out this rest of the season, get enough victories to have a chance to make a bowl.
Yeah, and I guess, looking back after the Alabama game, we were really excited about the way that this team played through 3 quarters against the top team in the nation, and then they kind of laid down a little bit in the next couple games. So, we just got to hope that this team doesn't lie down right now and carries this momentum through the rest of the game, hopefully using that boot to motivate them and take that rivalry-intensive play across for the rest of the schedule.
Definitely some good things to look forward to, and hopefully they could carry that good play as you mentioned.
Yep, let's see if CSU can pull off that big road win. Well, we're going to take a quick break here.
But when we come back, I will fill you in on how the volleyball team did last week.
And the new rankings came out today, so Stephen and I are going to tell you what we think of the latest poll.
Don't go away.
So, I got this new family, and I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy all day long. Tap, 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 tap. Oh, and she even talks to it. She talks to that more than she talks to him. What's up, bro? Nice shirt. Who's she talking to? Her mom? She talks to her mom a lot.
Clean kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Everyone deserves to be rewarded for a job well done, especially when it's done to perfection. Unfortunately for the CSU women's volleyball team, nobody seems to care. The Rams went out on the road last week and won 2 more conference matches against quality opponents to remain undefeated on the season, but they didn't get any love from the rankings. The new polls came out today, yet the Rams stayed at number 12 in the nation. 23-0 Missouri is the only other unbeaten team left in the nation, and they're ranked just 1 spot ahead of the Rams at 11. The team improved to 17-0 overall and 8-0 in the Mountain West. In the Rams match against UNLV on Thursday, the team was within 1 point of sweeping the Rebels on 3 separate occasions before dropping sets 3 and 4, forcing the decisive 5th set. CSU trailed 12-9 in the final set before rolling off 6 of the final 7 points to beat the Rebels 15-13. Then on Saturday, the Rams dropped the first set to San Diego State and trailed 20-17 in the second before once again coming back from behind to win 8 of the final 10 points to capture the second set and then the third and fourth sets to seal the victory. The team is back at home this week for a pair of matches at Moberly Arena as they host Fresno State on Thursday night at 7 and San Jose State at 1 on Saturday.
Yeah, Stephen, they've just been mowing down opponents. We talk about it every week. Undefeated, 6-0, 8-0, 12-0, now 17-0. Next week, who knows where we're going to be at. I'd like to think that we'll be able to pick up a couple home wins, but still no love in the rankings. What is it going to take for this team to really get that respect from the coaches poll and move up to maybe the top 10?
To be completely honest, I have no idea at this point. We saw this team go out on the road, win 2 tough true road matches in conference against 2 of the top opponents in UNLV and San Diego State, and still they're just locked in that number 12 spot. I think people, I don't know if they're just not giving the Mountain West Conference a lot of respect for being a tough conference or not. But I think the girls are doing what they have to do and what they should do. You know, Coach Hilbert and his assistants have done a great job in preparing them this season. They deserve a lot of credit for this tremendous start for the Rams. But the players, once again, they go out there and put forth more of an effort than each of their opponents each and every night. They play with so hard, and I think that's a big reason why they're off to this undefeated start.
Yeah, and you know that the players don't really care too much about the rankings. You know, they'd like to see themselves move up a little bit. But I think they're most excited for the fact that Moby fans are finally showing up. Moby is getting more and more packed. People are starting to realize that this team is really something special, and that's why they have a top 10 attendance record in the nation, even though they're not sitting top 10 in the rankings.
There's no doubt about it. They've had tremendous attendance from the fans, as you mentioned. You know, this team's doing some historic things this season as well. 17-0 on the season, tied for the second best start in program history. 17-match win streak, which is the fourth longest in history, and they also set a new record with 12 straight true road match victories, topping which was 11 back in 2003. So they've just been plowing through school records as well, keeping moving their way up. It's going to be fun to watch them at home this week, so hopefully everyone can go out there and cheer this team on.
Yeah, absolutely. Big games coming up this weekend. And the men's hockey team also had a big game at the Pepsi Center on Saturday. They took on the Buffs in the first of 4 games between the two teams. This was a really hard-fought game that eventually went into overtime. It was scoreless after the first period, but then the Rams took a lead in the third period. The Buffs then scored to force overtime, where Connor Tamai wristed in the game winner. Tamai missed an open shot late in the third, but relished the opportunity to redeem himself in overtime with this shot right there.
You miss the open net, and then let's say the other team goes and ends up winning, you're just going to have nightmares about that for a while. Big sigh of relief. Big sigh of relief. Don't even remember it barely, but it was awesome.
And now it's time for another quick break, but we've got swimming highlights for you in just a minute.
Then we'll show you how the women's soccer team did in its final home game of the season.
Stay tuned.
They say that when you're facing extreme danger, your life flashes before you. If you think that's sad, consider facing it before you even have enough life to flash before your eyes. Deaths and injuries can be prevented by using the right car seat. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to know what is appropriate for each age and size.
Red state, blue state.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
But when we live united, we create real lasting change in the education, income, and health of our country. Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up at liveunited.org.
The women's swimming team had its first match of the season on Saturday. CTV Sports reporter Travis Green spoke with the coach and a few swimmers to see how the season is going so far.
The CSU women's swimming season has just begun, but they know that there is no time to ease into things.
Obviously, in the back of my mind, I always want to win. I don't care who it is, we want to win.
Freshman Ginny Bury already has a grasp on what it takes to win.
There's the pressure of you want to do good for your team, but then you also want to do good for yourself. So it's a little nerve-wracking.
I'm encouraged. I think it's a good start for a young team.
Woodard still thinks the team has some improving to do, though.
My hope is that we're preaching the right foundational work in the water so that when we get to the top races, we're not caught like deer in headlights.
Seniors like Maddie Mastrup have their own motivation to succeed.
I just want to leave my swimming career knowing that I left everything in the pool. I did everything I could have done, and I can look back on my swimming career as a positive thing and not regretting that I did something else or swim better.
Because half a life of swimming is all coming down to this last year for Mastrup.
And then individually, I just want to go out of this season or out of my career with no regrets.
Unfortunately, the Rams ended up losing in the meet, but they go back to the pool in Moby for another meet on November 9th against Northern Arizona.
The CSU women's soccer team battled under cold and rainy conditions Sunday in their final home match of the team's inaugural season. But unfortunately, they came up short, losing to the Boise State Broncos 3-0. The Rams played the Broncos to a draw at the end of the first half before the Broncos notched 3 goals in the second half to seal the win. Coach Bill Hempen said he was proud of his team for stepping up and competing and that things just didn't bounce their way Sunday. The Rams are just 1-7 in the Mountain West this season with 2 more conference games to play before the end of the season. Where they end against the UNC Bears in Greeley. The team will now travel to California to take on Fresno State Bulldogs Thursday and the San Jose State Spartans on Saturday. So, Keith, the Boise State Broncos were able to get a victory on Sunday, but unfortunately the Denver Broncos were not.
Yeah, of course. You had to bring it up, Steven. The Broncos did lose to the Colts yesterday. Hard-fought game. You know, Broncos definitely didn't play a perfect game, but you got to give the Colts some credit for how they played.
Without a doubt, Andrew Luck was phenomenal. The young guy definitely looked poised out there. It was a tough crowd there at Lucas Oil Stadium, always tough to play. I think Peyton Manning, is used to having those fans cheering behind him and making a lot of noise when the opposing team's offense is there. This time it was making a lot of noise when he was out there with the Broncos offense. But I think the Colts secondary was the key in this one. They played man coverage, tied up on the Broncos receivers. I don't know if very many other secondaries in the NFL who could do that and have success. Also, Robert Mathis was a monster coming and chasing Peyton Manning, had the huge safety, which was a momentum shifter in this game. So I think the Colts deserve a lot of the credit. I think the Broncos definitely had some mistakes and could have played better. But I think the Colts actually came out there and really earned this victory.
Yeah, they definitely outplayed the Broncos in this game, so you have to give them the credit. And, a couple plays that could have gone the other way. Of course, the Ronnie Hillman fumble comes to mind. But, it's kind of nice that the Broncos now can get the title off their shoulder of undefeated team. Quit worrying about that and just go out there and play football, because one loss in the grand scheme of things really doesn't matter too much.
No, not at all. And as you mentioned, it's going to be good to relieve some of that pressure off this team. Hopefully, we always talk about in sports, sometimes losses could be good for a team who's on a big, long win streak, kind of bring them back down to earth a little bit, work on some of the fundamentals, get back to basics a little bit, and hopefully we can see them respond and come back even better than they looked before.
Yeah, and I think they will. They, step up. They're not in the strongest division, but somehow they're not on top of the division. The team with the best record in the NFL, undefeated, Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, who saw this coming? You know that they're going to get better with the addition of Alex Smith at quarterback, the new coach, and a healthy Jamal Charles. But 7-0?
Yeah, Andy Reid deserves a lot of credit in his first year there in Kansas City. Alex Smith kind of just moving that offense along, being efficient, not taking too many shots down the field. They take the least amount of shots down the field than any other team in the NFL. Obviously, they want to win the turnover battle, really protect the football, pound it on the ground. Charles is really starting to wake up a little bit there behind that offensive line. But the defense has just been ridiculous for the Chiefs. They're getting sacks, forcing turnovers, and tough for opposing offenses to move the ball against that defense.
Yeah, definitely tough as a Broncos fan to watch the Chiefs winning when your team loses, but we'll see how it comes out down at the end of the season. And fortunately, when football lets us down in October, we can still turn to baseball. We got the World Series coming up, Fall Classic, love it. We got the Boston Red Sox squaring off against the St. Louis Cardinals. Going to be a great matchup.
Definitely, you take a look, the two teams both finished 97 and 65 during the regular season. They've both made 2 World Series appearances within the last 10, 15 years or so. The match back in 2004, the Red Sox swept the Cardinals 4-0. So Cardinals looking for a little bit of revenge. I think they're going to get it this year. I think with the young flamethrowers they have, pretty decent bullpen, but obviously the offense is tough. I'm going to go ahead and say they win this one in 6. I'm going to give the MVP to Yadier Molina. Catchers don't get enough love. He's been a tremendous defensive catcher throughout his career, but this season, tremendous hitting numbers as well. I think he might have a couple of big hits for the Cardinals.
Yeah, he's always a guy who's clutch. You talk about the Cardinals team, that's all they are is clutch. I don't think that they're going to outplay the Red Sox, though. A little bit of power offenses by both, but we'll see if the Cardinal hitters can come up clutch against this Boston offense that has really been the definition of clutch. 2 huge grand slams throughout these playoffs. I think Boston's going to take this one in 7, though. Maybe that's just me being optimistic that we can get 7 playoff games in. I sure hope it, because
look for Alan Craig to have a spark for the Cardinals if he can play.
Yep. And that's all the time we have for you tonight. But if you missed any of tonight's show, try to be a little more punctual next week.
You can always watch the rest of our show on the website at collegian.com, and you can even show it to all of your friends.
Sounds like a good plan. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.